And the North Carolina State House is considering a new congressional map that would help Republicans flip a Democratic seat. President Trump called on lawmakers to adopt the map in order to elect an additional MAGA Republican in the midterms. Now Republican lawmakers there are making it clear that's their goal.
The motivation behind this redraw is simple and singular. Draw a new map that will bring an additional Republican seat to the North Carolina congressional delegation. Republicans hold a razor-thin margin in the United States House of Representatives. And if Democrats flip 4 seats in the upcoming midterm elections, they will take control of the House and torpedo President Trump's agenda.
Protesters chanted in the chamber as the maps advanced out of committee, calling them racist. But Democrats have few options to fight the move. ABC News political director Averi Harper is here for more on all that. Hi, Averi. So how would this new map change representation in North Carolina, and what impact could it have on the balance of power in Congress?
Map that has been proposed and is moving through North Carolina's State House could make the state's first congressional district, which is currently held by a Democratic incumbent named David Davis, more vulnerable. Could be redrawn in favor of Republicans. It's important to remember here that the state of North Carolina, their congressional delegation is already overwhelmingly Republican. 10 Republicans hold seats versus only 4 Democrats in that state. And this is something that we're seeing protesters speak about in that state because it could oust the state's only black male member of Congress. And so we'll have to see what happens there. It's also important to remember that the governor, the Democratic governor in that state, cannot veto this map. And when you look at the big picture here, too, the Republicans' majority in Congress is already razor thin. So this could essentially shrink the field of competitive state races that we're watching next year.
Averi, you say this is an escalation of the tit-for-tat we've been seeing in other states. How so?
All right. Listen, we have seen North Carolina Republicans say that this attempt to redraw a map in North Carolina is in response to what we've seen in California. And in California, lawmakers there said that their attempt to redraw maps in favor of Democrats is in response to what we've seen Republicans do in states like Texas and Missouri. At the end of the day, it's important to remember that none of this is normal. We only see states typically redraw their congressional maps once a decade after the census or in response to some sort of court order. Everything that we've seen in the past few months in terms of redistricting has been blatantly political.
And Texas and Missouri have already signed new maps into law. Ohio, Utah, and California, as you mentioned, are also in the process of redrawing maps, all for political gain. So how far do you see this going by next year's midterms?
Listen, again, I think that this is going to shrink the number of competitive races that we're going to see as we approach the midterm year. When we look at and make an analysis of all the opportunities that there are to potentially redistrict, there are more opportunities for Republican states to redistrict than there are for Democrats. And so right now, Republicans certainly have the upper hand when it comes to this fight.
And the Supreme Court appears poised to limit a key part of the Voting Rights Act aimed at protecting equal opportunity for racial minorities in congressional maps. So what would that mean, if it happens, for states that have had maps rejected for violating the Voting Rights Act?
So we could see, if the Supreme Court is to make that ruling, that previous maps that were ruled unfair, that we could see legal challenges to make those maps reinstated. We could also see it become more difficult for there to be challenges to racial gerrymandering in states across the country. And there are many advocates who argue that this ruling could make it more difficult to see representation from minority voters.
All right, ABC News political director Averi Harper, thank you.